strategies. So we got strategies for new cops of 10 to 12 years, and cops approaching retirement. So strategy for new cops. So this is my main question, right? This is more another kind of systemic thing that can be used in all professions. How much pensions, drop accounts, 457, all the plans, how much of that is actually taught in the academy or in training? And then this could bleed into a lot of professions, right? Like I knew what a 401k was, but I didn't know what it was, right? I knew a 401k was a retirement account, but that was about it. I didn't learn about 401k until I Googled it, and like I had my girlfriend tell me about it because she's in personal finance. But I think this could also be huge for like college athletes as well. Mm-hmm. Like college athletes, right? They should be put into classes, sure, but they should be taught how to be a professional athlete, especially with their finances. You know, I'm sure you've seen Broke, all the football players who go broke. So how much, sticking to police officers now, how much of that is actually taught in the academy, and what are the resources available for a young cop? And after that, what are the common mistakes they make, other than them being 20-somethings and they just don't care?
Right. Well, unfortunately, the resources are zero. I mean, that's why we wrote the book.
Zero?
Yeah, literally zero. They go through the academy. They're trained on, case law. They're trained on how to arrest people,
firearms,
firearms.
Stuff they should be trained on. But why isn't financial literacy taught in these courses for any profession, not just the police?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. That's why we wrote the book, Will. Right. I mean, I can't tell you how many police chiefs, get our book and they give it to all their, police officers, because again, you become a young police officer. It's exciting. You're doing something. It's a law enforcement career. And literally what they don't talk to you about is what you should do or what's your strategy. Because again, like I said, you could be 25, 26 years old and with overtime be making $100,000 to $110,000 a year, literally 3 years out of the academy. And that's a lot of money for a young person. So, the number one problem I see is they don't ask enough questions. When I go to speak to the training class, I ask how many of them in the training class already have jobs, and about 60% of them raise their hands. They've already got a job with the municipality. And I say to all of them, you need to ask questions. What's the defined benefit plan look like? What's my age and years of service? We all know years of service is 25, but one municipality, it might be 53, one it might be 52, one it might be 54. Ask that question. What's their 457 plan? How do I sign up from it, for day one? Do you have a drop? Now, a lot of them, they're just not thinking that far in the future. So I always laugh because when I start out my presentation to these training classes, I always say, my name's Chris Englebert, Englebert Financial Advisors. I am from the future, and I'm coming back to the past 25 years to talk to you, because you will be talking to somebody like me 25 years from now. Mm-hmm. And so if I can give you the inside baseball when you start out your career, you will be able to retire very, very comfortably as a police officer. And so again, these young police officers, they're all, hepped up with the training and a certification and everything else, but they don't, they're all excited about the beginning, but they don't, they don't ask enough questions about what happens at the end of your career.
That's very typical among young people.
Yeah.
Right? That just comes with being a 20-something-year-old kid, where it's just, you don't think about when you're 60, 70, 80 years old.
And the biggest mistake I see them make is they get, and this is a fancy word for debt, they get over leveraged. You're 25, 26, 27 years old, making 120 grand a year. You could afford a $500-600 a month car payment. You could afford a 2020. I had a police chief one time. I was in his office and he's like, hey, come over here and let's look out the window. And we look out the window and he's like, new pickup truck, new BMW, et cetera. And this police chief was a tremendous saver. He was very financially astute, but he's like, I don't know what to say to these young people, because they start making this kind of cash and they start buying cars and trucks and homes, and they end up, I've seen it over and over again. I'm like, how much money are you putting a year into your 457 plan? I'm putting $2,000. Yeah, I'm putting $2,000 a year. I'm like, $2,000? Are you kidding me? And they literally, The biggest mistake I see them make is they get tremendously over leveraged. I mean, they'll be making $100,000 or $110,000 a year, and they get married. If they're smart, they marry a teacher, or they end up marrying a nurse. We see a lot of that, and they'll have a two income of $250,000, and they'll be in a $600,000 house with two $500 a month car payments, and they're not putting enough money in their 457 plan. So,
well, you got to beat it into them, metaphorically. Like, listen, you can have both. Like, if I was making $150,000 a year, I already save as much as it is with as much money as I make. It's not crazy amount of savings, but I put money away for a rainy day or things I need.
Mm-hmm.
But some people don't do anything, which is, but my point is, if I had $150,000, I would live that lavish lifestyle. I would travel more, right? I don't care about cars, but I would upgrade to a different apartment when this lease is up, right? I would get a luxury building with a gym and a foyer and the doorman and all that fun stuff, right? But I would still make sure I put away more money. I had 10% of my 401k. I would move up to 15, right? Yeah. I would open a Roth. I would do these other things and budget in the lifestyle I want to live. So you guys got to pretty much just teach them. You can do both. You don't need 3 trucks. You can have 2 trucks.
Right. And it's funny you say that, because we had a young officer at a township. He just transferred from Philly. You're getting a lot of Philly cops, obviously, leaving the city of Philadelphia.
Yep.
And you can transfer a 457 to another 457 plan, just like you can do 401k to 401k. And so he was starting at this township, and I said, okay, let's transfer your 457 plan. And he was like 27 years old, and he had 30 grand already in his 457 plan. And I'm like, this is huge. I said, what's going on? He's like, when I started 4 years ago at City of Philadelphia, I had a sergeant take me by the shoulder, walk me downstairs, and make me fill out the paperwork to put this kind of money away. He knew I lived at home. I didn't really have any bills, and that I could afford to say. I said, do you understand at age 27, 28, having 30, 40 grand already is huge. And so some of them get it. Don't get me wrong. Some of them get it. Some of them are hyper savers. But for the most part, they got to have a strategy. And like I said, the 2 things I see young police officers make as far as the biggest mistakes is too much debt and not enough in their 457 plan.
Right. Well, luckily they do grow out of it. Right. Most young people grow out of it. They hit 30. I think 30 is that big wall. There's a reason why us young people stress about 30 years old, because it's like, it really is that point where you pivot. And you go, you get married, you have kids, you start thinking about your career more. It's less about this booze on Friday night and more about books on a Saturday morning, right? Stuff like that.